Hey everyone, welcome to episode 13, or episode 13, as we call it around here. And by that look of displeasure I'm getting from my co-host, I'll just let you just roll right into it and introduce yourself.
Tracy.
Yep.
Tracy. This high school Spanish class.
Dude, I'm remembering so much of the Spanish I haven't remembered since freshman year of high school. It's
I'm very
insane.
proud of you.
Dude, I said aeropuerta the other day.
Oh!
Dude, I didn't even remember that when we went to Cuba.
Done.
Like, I couldn't remember what the Spanish word for airport was. I just was randomly driving. I sent like a Snapchat and I was like, aeropuerta. It's like,
now you gotta roll the R though.
I can't really roll my R's.
You can't roll the R?
No. I'm very, very gifted speaking wise, but I can't roll my R's.
I'm so humble. I'm very gifted speaking wise.
Hashtag stay humble. Hey man, I couldn't think of any other way to say that.
Wow. Yeah, sorry for missing last week. Busy time with the mothers and
that's what Bradley likes you to believe. He actually just went to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's not true. That was last night. That was not last week. It was pretty good, by the way. Not as good as the first, but still filled with good classic music, humor, a little bit of action.
I've heard it's like one of the best superhero sequels, for sure.
Probably. Specifically sequels.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, probably better than Avengers 2. I think Iron Man 2 was better.
I did like Iron Man 2.
Captain America 2 was way better. Dark Knight was way better. You know what?
Oh, yeah, no,
I disagree
mind.
with you.
Yeah, never mind.
I disagree with
you.
Well,
hey, that wasn't my assessment. That was what...
Deadpool's coming out at the next year, I think. Oh, that's going to be great.
I still need to see the first
What?
Deadpool. Yeah. I never actually saw the first Guardians of the Galaxy either, just bits and pieces. Like, I saw the ending.
Deadpool is not for children, but if you're into some, like, mature humor, it is amazing.
It's amazing.
It's hilarious. Definitely worth a watch.
I got that from just the previews.
Other than, I think The Dark Knight is the best superhero movie ever made, but other than that,
the sequel too.
Other than that, Deadpool is number 2.
Actually, yeah, I'm with you. Dark Knight was just...
It was a great movie.
I mean,
Heath Ledger,
all encompassing, just how it was shot and everything too.
Dude, Christopher Nolan's the best director in Hollywood. I'm very excited for. Oh gosh, what's the name of his movie coming out? Dunkirk.
Okay.
I think that's the name of it. It's like a war movie, which will be an interesting change of pace.
Yeah, because he usually kind of stays in. He
usually does like
area.
The Prestige, Inception, the Dark Knight trilogy. Interstellar, stuff like that, cerebral stuff. So I'm very excited. I think it'll be good. Best director in Hollywood. And Christopher Nolan, if you want to come on the show, that's at the Rollout Show.
At the Rollout Show, you can contact our booking agent. She is our intern, Lucy, who is not in the office right now.
Definitely not a dog.
Definitely not a dog. She just has a very barky voice.
She doesn't like people.
Yeah, not really. Only me. Really, that's it. Hashtag stay humble. Never make mistakes. Anyway, let's get rolling with the NBA playoffs. So, Bradley.
Why don't we just skip to the finals, man? This is horrible.
I mean, I haven't watched any of the games against the Cavs. I've just seen, like, literally probably a total of 10 to 15 minutes of those games. That's it.
Cavs-Celtics isn't a series anymore. They blew the Celtics out at home in Boston twice now. And apparently Isaiah Thomas is dealing with some sort of hip injury.
It said he hurt his right hip, and it was initially injured in the second round of the playoffs against the Wizards. And some in the organization didn't think he was going to play Game 7 against the Wizards, but, I mean, that could sort of explain some of his miscues.
Maybe.
But I think it's just talent, honestly.
I mean, he might be banged up,
but
he played great in that Wizard series. And now he's come into this Cavs series, and LeBron is making him look like a small child. As that picture meme, if you haven't seen it, just Google image search.
We'll tweet it out, too.
Yeah, we'll tweet it out. LeBron dunks on Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas is like nuzzled in LeBron's belly button. and I feel so bad for him. LeBron's a freak. What are you supposed to do? You're the shortest guy in the NBA who's supposed to carry the Celtics team to victory, and LeBron's making you look like a child.
And he's the size of Al Horford, yet has the ball handling skills better than a guy like Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He's bigger, stronger, faster. Probably not quicker, but the length makes up for the quickness, and he's fast enough to catch up.
And his basketball IQ, not to say that Isaiah Thomas doesn't have a high one, but LeBron James is spectacular.
LeBron is the best floor general. If LeBron played point guard, he'd be the best point guard of all time. Better than Magic.
Oh, absolutely.
Better than old Isaiah Thomas. Better than everybody. LeBron is number 2 all time, and he's slowly creeping towards that number 1 spot, in my opinion. We aren't quite old enough to have seen Michael Jordan in his prime live.
No, we weren't. Which
I regret. And out of respect, I have always said Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. Just because, you just don't know. We didn't see it live. We've only seen highlights, and LeBron James is amazing. He's the best player I've ever seen. Better than, the great players of our era, Kobe, Shaq.
Oh, he's better. He's better than Kobe.
Chris Paul. Dwayne Wade.
Come on.
I'm just naming Hall of Famers that we've seen play.
All right. Steve Nash.
Tim Duncan and Kobe are probably the 2 best players that we've ever seen play other than LeBron.
And he's just another planet compared to them. No offense to Kobe and Tim Duncan, because they both got theirs.
They're both top 10 all-time guys, but they're not top 2. Tim Duncan's probably on the starting 5 all time, and Tim Duncan can't touch LeBron.
No, it's just completely different skill sets and everything, because he's around the same size as Tim Duncan, but so quick, and just he can play like a big man and a small like point guard at the same time. It's ridiculous.
And the only other, we have a couple guys in the league that are kind of similar to that now. Kawhi can kind of do the same thing.
Giannis,
Draymond, but he's smaller. But Draymond can play the whole and he's not run the offense.
He's not as quick as
and he
LeBron.
Doesn't have the same ball handling skills. But I'm just talking about guys who are big and who can run the offense.
Right.
But LeBron is so much better than all of those guys. It's crazy. And guys like Kawhi and Giannis, they're really young. They have a long ways to go. But
and then the guy who we're hoping to see next year as well is Ben Simmons. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's got.
The height, man.
7 feet tall now? That's ridiculous.
The only player ever to live up to the kind of hype that
you said hype. I said height.
No, height.
He's 7 feet tall
height
now.
With a P. The only guy who can live up to the hype that Ben Simmons is having was LeBron James. Ben Simmons is supposedly the best prospect since LeBron James. We'll see.
I don't know. I just see his measurables and what everybody says about him and just the limited action I've seen him play, and I'm just really excited. He doesn't really have a jump shot. Like, he can't really hit threes, but that's something you can develop.
Well, and the intangibles.
Yeah, that's
LeBron is not only one of the most physically gifted players ever, but he's a tremendous leader.
He's basically
he helps coach the team. He's like an assistant coach. He's so cerebral,
unselfish.
He's an amazing facilitator. His unselfishness, at times he's too unselfish. Like when they lost to the Mavericks in the finals his first year with the Heat was because he was trying not to be aggressive. He wanted his teammates involved.
He didn't want to overshadow D-Wade.
And then the next season he realized, oh crap, I'm better than D-Wade. Maybe I should just score. And then they dominated everybody.
It's like, you know what? I think our goal here is just to win rings. So let's not worry about stepping on people's toes. Let's just win.
Yeah. I like how NBA playoffs discussion turned into a LeBron's legacy discussion.
It turned into, it might as well be a LeBron's legacy discussion. Because this is really what it's about.
What's
like,
it going to take?
Get over the Warriors.
What's it going to take to put him over Michael? Winning the championship this year?
This year, yeah. He's basically, I think it's 1A, 1B. If not, I might actually put LeBron ahead of Jordan, but that could just be, I've seen so much more of LeBron than I have of Jordan.
If LeBron were to, first of all, last year's Golden State team is better than any team Michael Jordan ever beat in the finals.
Yeah.
And I dare someone to argue that with me. That team won 73 games and has some of the best shooters of all time. If LeBron wins this year, I personally don't think he's going to. I think it's going to be at most a 6-game series. If he can somehow win, he will have beaten the most talented team ever assembled. More talented than the LeBron Heat teams, more talented than the current Cavs, more talented than the 96 Bulls. It will be the most talented team ever assembled. It may not be the best team of all time, because statistically last year's Warriors team was better than this year's.
Right.
But just as far as,
star power and talent,
you have 4 top 20 guys on that team and 2 top 5 guys. That has never happened before. D-Wade wasn't a top 5 guy when LeBron was in Miami. He was probably top 10, but he wasn't top 5. And then they had Chris Bosh.
He was top 15.
This Warriors team has Steph and Durant, both top 5. Clay and Draymond, both top 20. And then Iggy's probably top 30. I don't know.
That's debatable.
Okay. Anyway, it's a really
They're
good
all
team.
just top 500, let's be real. Shout out to Guillermo.
On Mike and Mike, and I guess while we're here, Mike and Mike, that's my bad. I have a transition. I really should have just said this off air, but we're going for it. Mike and Mike is unfortunately ending after an 18 or 19 year run. It's a really sad day for us because, personally, that was my show every day before school. We're guys in our early-ish 20s. Mike and Mike has been around since we've been alive.
Yeah.
And I used to watch it every day before school. As soon as I got a job, I used to listen to Mike and Mike while I worked. I still listen to Mike and Mike every day. And it's sad. You want to share some thoughts on Mike and Mike before I say why we're down this path anyway?
Glad you're going. Oh, I'm kidding. I was going to make a joke. But
what?
No, I'm kidding. But no, Mike and Mike, that's one of the shows that got me really started into sports. I'd wake up early in the morning when we had to go to school super early.
Yep.
And, Mike and Mike would be on, and it'd actually be
up
interesting.
at 6 o'clock, basically.
Up
right
at
when
6
Mike
o'clock.
And Mike starts.
Right when Mike and Mike started. So you get, the hard-hitting,
off the top. They still do it.
They still do
off
it,
the
just
top.
right off the top. And then that was really refreshing because, it kind of got you going throughout the day, and then you could go into school and have something to talk about. It's like, dude, you hear about this? So it's going to be hard to see it go, but
they'll still be around ESPN. Obviously, Greeny's getting his own TV show. Golic they're basically transitioning the current Mike and Mike into Mike Golic and Trey Wingo, and occasionally Mike Golic Jr. And that'll probably be good. I'll tune in. I really like Trey Wingo. I probably won't watch Greeny's show because I don't watch that much television anymore. But it's sad. Anyway, the reason I brought us down this road was because 2 more times now, Mike Greenberg says Guillermo. So if you don't know the Dan Le Batard show, they have a guy named Guillermo who does all of their Twitter polls for them. So Dan Le Batard always says, Guillermo, put it on the poll. And Mike Greenberg sometimes thinks he's funny and mimics that, but says Guillermo. Mike Greenberg speaks Spanish fluently. What are you doing?
The funny thing is, Mike Greenberg probably speaks more fluent Spanish than Guillermo, who isn't actually Spanish.
He's not?
No, his name's Billy.
Why do they call him Guillermo?
It's a nickname.
Oh! I had no idea.
That's why, whenever Stugatz, comes in, when Guillermo's like, hey, guys, and he's like, hey, Bill.
I thought his name was just, William Guillermo.
See, I thought that first, too, but then it was one of those things, they just got into one day. His name's actually just, I don't know what his last name is, but his nickname's Guillermo.
This is shocking to me. I had no idea.
That's why they called him and Mike Ryan Arrependito, which is like fake Spanish.
Mike Ryan? Isn't his last name Ruiz?
Yeah, he's Michael Ryan Ruiz. That's why they're making fun of him. Because, like, if you didn't know his last name was Ruiz, you would never expect him to be any kind of Spanish descent.
All right, this has been an interesting tangent. Let's go back to NBA playoffs. Sorry about that.
Sorry, yeah. We just got hit in our feels a little bit. So
the Cavs Celtics game series will be over in 4. I really thought the Celtics could win a game or 2. I was clearly wrong. Just because the Celtics are...
That was very short-sighted of you.
Well...
That was very disrespectful to LeBron James.
No. Listen.
That was disrespectful to LeBron James.
It was because the Cavs don't play defense. And
in the regular season.
Can I finish?
No.
And because, I mean, the Celtics are made of a bunch of scrappy guys that play really, really well together. I forgot how good LeBron was. I'll just be honest.
You know what? You're like a lot of people. You
honestly,
forgot how good LeBron was.
No, this is what happened is I didn't realize, oh yeah, Kyrie won't always be guarding Isaiah. They can just put LeBron on him. See, that's the part that I didn't think about.
Yeah, because then Kyrie's going to be on Avery Bradley, who's more known for his defense than he is for scoring.
Kyrie can't play defense. So I was thinking Isaiah would be fine in this series. It would be everyone else that would struggle. Yeah, they just put LeBron on him. And now the series is over.
Because, see, that was the main thing I was kind of remembering when everybody's like, oh, the sky is falling with the Cleveland Cavaliers because, they're dropping all these games. It's like, well, for one, they're just ready for the playoffs and don't even care at this point. And 2, Isaiah Thomas, his fourth quarter antics, where he just goes off, that's not going to work when LeBron's just like, okay, try this against me. It just doesn't work.
What they're doing.
I mean, that's why, because LeBron's like, that's fine, I'll still get mine, and, Kevin Love and Kyrie are going to get theirs. I'll just guard Isaiah and just shut him down.
Dude, LeBron and PER, player efficiency rating, we talked about this before, but I'll bring it up again. It is basically the stat that the advanced metric guys use. The all-time record for a season is Wilt Chamberlain had 31 one year. These playoffs, LeBron's PER is 48.
He's
40. That's 18 points higher.
He's an animal.
50%, almost. That's crazy. He is. Anyway, he's doing things that Michael Jordan never did, and I'll just leave it at that. The fact that Michael Jordan was a scorer and LeBron's third best skill is scoring, and he's putting up these numbers, I think is enough of an argument for LeBron. He's a better passer than Michael. He's a better finisher at the rim than Michael. He's a better rebounder. Defense. Well, to be fair to Michael,
he was very good at defense.
That's the whole. Do you do it relative to the person or does size matter? Because that's why I put LeBron higher. LeBron's probably a better team defender just because of his size, but Michael was probably the better one-on-one individual defender.
See, yeah, that's why I gave LeBron the edge up, because if you needed LeBron to guard your center, if he was the guy who was really scoring, LeBron will guard your center.
That's like who's a better defender, LeBron or
Tony Allen,
Patrick Beverly, or Tony Allen? There's another one. It's like really, really good smaller guys, but they're great one-on-one and they'll shut twos down.
That's true.
Or
you
Klay
just take
Thompson,
away
that's another one.
Kind of like your shutdown corner just takes away one part of the field. Yeah,
just
that's
take out a guard. That's your job tonight.
Just take out James
let this
Harden.
Guard score. Yep, and they're guys that can do it. But anyway, then the other side, the Warriors, the Spurs. Unfortunately, Kawhi Leonard got hurt in Game 1. And while we're here, did you think it was dirty what Zaza did?
I mean, I think Zaza overall is a dirty player.
Okay.
But I don't know if necessarily that was dirty. I think he did kind of take a little bit of an extra step that he could have, laid off in that moment, which he didn't. But I've also seen that with other guys.
The play looked standard. Well, maybe not standard. The play looks like something that happens all the time in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, and I wish they'd get rid of it. But if you saw in Game 2, LaMarcus Aldridge? I think it was, tried to do the exact same thing to KD.
Mm-hmm.
and if it's dirty, I didn't think it was that dirty. I think it's more unfortunate than anything because now, I mean, the Spurs were up by almost 30 in that game.
Yeah, that's what.
And the Warriors stormed back, and then they won Game 2 by almost 40. Today's Game 3, we're going to date ourselves again because the podcast isn't going to come out till tomorrow. But the Warriors will probably win by upwards of 30 tonight.
I mean, it is going to be in San Antonio, so I'll give them a little bit of credit, but the Warriors are going to win tonight.
The Spurs, Kawhi was carrying that team on his back because LaMarcus Aldridge has been a disappointment other than flashes. Like, LaMarcus Aldridge
really
basically single-handedly eliminated the Rockets in Game 6, and then he was horrible Games 1 and 2 of this series. He is just...
It's like he disappears.
I think it's because of his game. Like, his game is post up from 20 feet out, fadeaway jump shots. And when they're falling, he looks amazing because he looks like Kevin Garnett almost. Like, his shot won't miss.
That's what made him so good in Portland, though, because you had him and Lillard just wrecking things.
But when his shot misses, he's not good because he can't drive, it seems like. He's not good on the low post. He always wants a high post. It's weird.
It's sad to see, but I mean, I will give them maybe some credit because I mean the Spurs. I mean they've done it before. Yeah,
it's the best basketball mind of our generation, arguably of all time. So we'll see if he can come up with something. But given how angry Popovich got, I think he knows that Kawhi was his only chance.
Especially after Tony Parker went out, because I think it would be at least a little bit of a different story with Tony Parker.
Tony Parker had not been playing that well.
I don't believe he's been playing well at all, but Tony Parker will still somehow find a way to turn back the clock 15 years in the playoffs. Yep. That's the only thing.
Same thing Manu does. I mean,
exactly. They would just turn back the clock and do something like they did, back in the heyday. So that's why we'll give them credit for that, and then they'll make somebody like Jonathan Simmons look really good or something. So
who I think he's a free agent.
Good
for him. He's about to get paid.
Hey,
he earned himself like $80 million.
He's this year's Bismack Biyombo. Let me tell you that.
Pretty much.
There's always him and Joe Ingles are about to.
Dude, Joe Ingles. How is he in the league? He looks like that dude that comes to play pickup at a court and you think he's kidding, and then he schools everybody.
Honestly, he looks like the guy at the gas station that you ask for directions.
It's pretty good. The Levitard show should use that.
Thank you. I've got a few on Joe Ingles. I need to just.
I mean, he's an easy guy.
I mean,
It's because he looks like one of us. Let's be honest.
He does.
It's
I had no idea he was Australian either.
He looks like a ninth grade history teacher.
That's what I was just about to say. He either looks like a 9th grade history teacher or like a 10th grade biology teacher or something.
Yeah, I could see that with a little white lab coat on.
Yep.
Yeah, unnecessary because you're in a classroom, but who cares? He takes his job very seriously.
He takes his job very seriously, and it's all about the kids.
That's right. All about the kids.
That's right. Because he's a good teacher. He's also the guy that, chaperones at prom.
And when kids start to grind against each other, he puts his arms between and slowly spreads them apart.
That's right. And he says, not up in here. Not up in here.
This is my court.
This is my court because we're having this at the gym. Not up in here.
Arm's length.
Not up in here.
No but the groin contact.
I'm locked in. Not up in here. Locked in. Sorry.
So, to wrap up our NBA playoffs discussion, let's just get to the finals already.
Okay, yeah, let's just get to the finals. It's Warriors and Cavs.
Both series, unless somehow Kawhi can come back for Game 4, both series are going to be sweeps. Let's see the matchup that we all really want to see, and it will be a great finals, I hope.
It will be.
Even if it only goes 6,
I think it's 7, though.
LeBron, because LeBron's going to have to carry the Cavs. And there will probably be one game where Kyrie's like, it's my turn now.
And he's going to drop 50.
Yeah.
Something like that.
He's going to go 48 and 12.
And then there's going to be that one game where Tristan Thompson just gets a massive amount of offensive boards.
He gets 20 rebounds, 9 of which are offensive rebounds.
It's just, that's just the way that team's designed. It's crazy.
Well, the team's designed to where LeBron can just do his thing. What LeBron's best at is facilitating. And that team is full of really good offensive players with Tristan Thompson to get rebounds. And that's the team. And it's working really well so far. I'll be interested to see how it works against the Warriors.
I think it'll be good.
I think it will, even if it doesn't go 7, I think it'll be by far the best series of this playoffs.
Speaking of that, since that final series is basically 2 all-star teams going against each other, this discussion we've been having a little bit off air, would a team of East all-stars, not the Cavs, beat the Cleveland Cavaliers?
So this was kind of making the rounds on ESPN the other day, and we found it really interesting. So the first thing we need to do is make our Eastern team before we talk about this.
Okay.
So, starting 5. Tell me if you agree or disagree. You got John Wall.
Agree.
The 1. You can throw DeRozan at the 2.
Yeah, I was leaning towards DeRozan at the 2.
DeRozan's going to be on the team. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's either starting or off the bench. And so really it's, do you want to start Isaiah and have DeRozan off the bench, or do you want to start DeRozan and have Isaiah off the bench?
I want to have Isaiah off the bench.
All right. So Isaiah will be on our bench. He'll be our 6th man and backup point guard. At the 3,
Giannis.
Yeah, I was going to put him at the 4, but yeah, we'll throw him at 3.
I mean, wherever you want to put him, but Giannis is starting.
I mean, who else would Jimmy Butler? No, I'd put Jimmy Butler. No, here's what I would do.
Okay.
This would be my starting 5: John Wall, DeRozan, Jimmy Butler at the 3, Paul George at the 4, Giannis at the 5.
Giannis at the 5.
Yeah, he's 7 feet tall. Why not?
Oh goodness,
because if you're not going to do that, who are you going to play at 5? Whiteside?
I mean, Whiteside's going to be on the team.
I guess you would put Whiteside on the 5 then, and then maybe have Jimmy Butler part of the second unit with Jimmy. No, I think I'd rather have Paul George on the second unit with Isaiah
I would
Thomas.
too. I'd rather have Paul George on the second unit and have Jimmy starting. This is nasty.
So this team, man, this is a good team.
This is a really good team.
And then you could throw whoever else on the bench you want.
Kemba. Because Kemba will take over a game.
We'll throw Kemba. We don't need him to take over, man. We got somebody else.
Yeah, I know. But I mean,
throw Kemba on the bench. We need one more center for when Whiteside gets tired.
Would you go Drummond even though he had a down year?
I guess. Who cares? Throw Drummond on the bench. He could play 5 minutes to spell Whiteside.
Yeah. Would you put Ibaka on there just because his unique skill set?
No. Ibaka's the most overrated player in the NBA.
Who else we got? Porzingis.
Oh, yeah.
Porzingis could be the backup center.
Just for the sake of stretching the floor a little bit, if you want to space it out. Man, that team against the Cavs. I think that team wins. This whole time, I have been on the Cavs side.
I was too.
Until we just talked it over. And I'm like, man, that's...
Just think about Kemba Walker coming in for like 10 minutes a game, just shooting threes.
There's no way that team loses, right?
I mean, it could be the whole cohesion factor.
Well...
Because, I mean, Paul George coming off the bench.
I think you would have to... Some assumptions you have to make for this hypothetical is everyone buys in, and you get a week to practice. And it's a series. It's not just one game. It's a whole series. I think those will be our starting assumptions. I gotta go with the All-Stars, man. Wait,
is Aaron Gordon on the All-Star team?
No.
Fournier?
No.
What about Alfred Payton?
Nobody likes the Magic, man. They don't have any good players.
People love the Magic Man, okay? People love
the Magic Man.
I'm funny. But yeah, no, we don't have anybody yet.
Anyway.
That'd make
who you picking?
Team. Man, I wanted to go with the Cavs. But if it is under those assumptions... I was going to say the Cavs
before we made this discussion.
If we're going with those assumptions that, like everybody buys in, then I'd have to take the All-Stars.
I mean, you have to. Because otherwise a team of All-Stars just doesn't work.
Because, I mean, you have guys who... I mean, it's kind of crazy to say that, but you have a guy like Giannis who can do something similar to what LeBron can do.
Giannis can guard LeBron.
Yeah.
That's his job. Your job is lock down LeBron. And then when you get tired, that's what Paul George is going to do. Because those series with Indiana, Paul George did a decent job of guarding LeBron.
No, he really did, especially when they had supreme talent on each side, where it was really those every time they went 7 games, Heat versus Pacers with Vogel. Series. Those were great series.
And you know what? This is something interesting. How did that Pacers team compete with that Heat team? Because that Pacers team was Paul George, George Hill, Lance Stevenson.
And not even George Hill. It was George Hill.
George Hill.
When George Hill was viewed as, wow, man, he's really the weak link of that team.
And Hibbert.
Hibbert was good at the time.
He was good in that series. I don't know what it was about that series, but for some reason he matched up so well.
And he just
those
turned
were
it
good
on.
Series. I think one of those series went 6 and one went 7. But
remember, that was at the time that was without their arguably best player when Danny Granger got hurt. He was just never the same.
Well, and that's when we all found out, hey, this Paul George guy
is really good.
Yeah, I think I got to go with the All-Stars. I didn't want to. I wanted to pick LeBron, but that team's too stacked if everyone buys in.
Yeah, I agree.
How interesting that Melo didn't get put on this team.
I was thinking that same thing, but Melo's not on this team.
I agree.
I mean,
He's washed
if I'm
up.
taking anybody from the New York Knicks, it's Porzingis.
Now, if we're playing an All-Star game, give me Melo.
Because he's just going to jack up shots.
Because he won't play defense, yeah.
Yeah, he won't play defense.
He's still a great player offensively, but he plays no defense.
And if you're going to want to stop LeBron, you're going to need somebody to play some defense.
But, dude, Giannis on him, then some Paul George, then some Jimmy Butler. You got a decent defense on him.
Decent defense. Then you have, Hassan Whiteside clogging up the paint.
John Wall and
because John Wall can guard the perimeter.
John Wall and Jimmy Butler can switch off on Kyrie, and then you just throw whoever's left on Kevin Love.
Because the lowest, people shot 29% on contested threes when John Wall was guarding them in the playoffs.
It's because he's so athletic.
He's very, very good.
Russell Westbrook, I think, is the most athletic guy in the NBA, but a part of that is the way he moves is so physical, and
that's the thing.
And he just runs through people, runs around people. John Wall is so smooth. John Wall will get down the floor as fast as Russell Westbrook, but Russell Westbrook, when he dribbles, he's dribbling hard, and he's making weird faces, and John Wall's just doop-to-doop-to-doop behind the back, and layup. Where
it's much more casual seeming. That's
it looks easier.
That's the thing that was a good comparison for this is going back to baseball a few years, the 2008 Rays around that time with Carl Crawford and B.J. Upton. Because Carl Crawford, when he ran, it looked like he was going 100 miles an hour, and the dirt was flying up around him because he was a very physical runner. So whenever he would steal bases, because this was pre-replay, he would get a lot of calls, seemingly more safe calls, stealing second base because of how fast it looked like he was running. And then B.J. Upton would just glide, and they were very, very similar speed-wise. But B.J. Upton would get called out more often because it didn't look like he was trying as hard.
Yeah, glide is a good word for it.
Yeah, he just glides.
John Wall just looks smooth. John Wall's great. He's a great player. He didn't really
I'm glad
didn't
you
really
saw the
show
light.
up in Game 7.
Yeah.
But he's the only reason it got to a Game 7. And I think he's got a bright future if that team can keep adding depth and pieces.
And I think since he made the All-NBA team, he's eligible for the designated player extension, which means he can really lock up and get paid.
Well, and I didn't think he was going to leave. I mean, he seems to like being on the Wizards. I will say, I think this is the first time that I've agreed that Scott Brooks is a bad coach.
This is the first time?
Because, I mean, he didn't do anything he was just there. He was a body. He didn't do anything.
I mean,
and he kept in that Game 7, he kept Bradley Beal and John Wall in the entire second half. He didn't give them a break. No, and that might be partially just due to the depth. They just had no one else to put in, but you can't call a timeout. And I heard Bill Simmons talk about this, which was really interesting. About how you call a timeout with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and then you call another timeout with 1 minute left in the third quarter, and it turns into 15 minutes of no game time and all this crazy stuff that Popovich and Brad Stevens do to make sure their guys get rested. It was really interesting. He just, I don't know. It looks like he doesn't do anything. We'll see. I think that team needs more depth and probably at least one dominant forward or front court player.
And word on the street is the Polish Hammer, your boy G.O.A.T, has asked for a trade, so we'll kind of see what happens along that front, because it would at least clear up some cap space.
And G.O.A.T's good, but he's part of an era that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I mean, he's a decent mid-range shooter, which is better than
Which is
some.
pretty good, because there's a lot of guys out there like Drummond that, I mean, if he's not right at the rim, he's not scoring.
But he's also obviously gotten worse the last couple years.
Just because of
and
age.
Yeah, he's getting old. I mean, he's been around a long time. I remember watching him play with the Magic when I was really young.
He's Dwight's backup.
So, yeah, when he was the best backup center in the league, and he really deserved his own starting job. I was happy for him. He was part of the reason that Magic team went to the finals, because they could give Dwight plenty of rest to be ready for the fourth quarter when Dwight was one of the top 5 players in basketball and didn't have to worry about it because G.O.A.T would be good. I would have actually liked to see this Wizards team match up against the Cavs just because.
Would too.
And they probably would have got swept too. They may have gone 5.
It would have gone 5.
It would have been more entertaining.
It would have, because
because John Wall is not going to get blown out 4 games in a row.
No, he's not.
And he's physically gifted enough to make sure that doesn't happen, unlike Isaiah Thomas.
And then if the thing that's different about really the Wizards than the Celtics is if John Wall is just not having that great of a game, he can kind of dish it out to Bradley Beal, who's just a dynamic scorer.
Yeah, Otto Porter's a really good scorer this year. And they just need some front court because Otto Porter doesn't have the size or the skill.
Because he's a 3.
Yeah.
Otto Porter's a 3. And Markieff Morris, I mean, he's pretty good,
fine.
but I mean, they really need, I don't know who they could get, but if they trade G.O.A.T, they need like maybe either a smaller center, more athletic center, or a stretch 4 or something.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I don't know. They need like a Porzingis type.
That's really
obviously every team would love that, and saying that means nothing. But that's what they need, a 4 that is athletic and could stretch the floor a little bit and can play some good defense. So they need Giannis Antetokounmpo, let's be honest.
I mean, what team doesn't need Giannis Antetokounmpo?
The Warriors.
Because
where would you put him? I'm sure they'd take him. They'd probably figure out a way to start him.
No, he'd start.
Zaza would come off the bench. They'd play. They'd probably. Here's what they do. I got it. Steph at the 1, Clay at the 2, KD at 3, Giannis at 4, Draymond at 5. There you go. Dynasty. Now that would be the greatest team of all time.
If that happened, I would be so.
It would never happen. They couldn't afford it.
No, they couldn't afford it because Giannis makes good money because they signed him to an extension.
He's a top 10 player. He should.
Oh, absolutely. He absolutely deserves that. Speaking of top 10 players, all NBA teams.
Man, how stupid is it that centers are you? Because the All-Star, how they do it is you vote, and it's 2 backcourt players, so 2 guards, and 3 front court players, so either a forward or a center. And they did that because, I mean, the center is a dying breed. How many great pure centers are there in the league right now? Gobert,
and Boogie's a stretch 5, but I mean,
I guess Boogie, and then you get the guys like Drummond and DeAndre Jordan and Whiteside are quote unquote great centers. Like, it's a dying
Whiteside's
breed.
good though.
He's not a top 15 guy. Because what the All-NBA has historically represented reasonably closely is a snapshot of the best 15 players in basketball. And as the center has died, that is slowly less accurate. But it's historically, if you look back at it, it's generally these 15 guys are the best players in basketball. And I mean, Anthony Davis is first team All-NBA. Anthony Davis is not a top 5 player. He's probably not top 15, but he's not top 5.
He does not need to be on the All-NBA first team because, for one, he really doesn't play center that often.
No, he's a forward.
He's a power forward. And I feel like that's a lot of people who didn't necessarily pay attention to the Pelicans who just viewed Anthony Davis as a center because that's what he was drafted as.
That and who else are you going to put there?
I mean, I would even put Boogie over Anthony Davis if we're going pure center.
But, Boogie's not even a center. Boogie's a forward. I
mean, at this point in his career, he's a forward. I mean, if we're going pure center, I'd put Rudy Gobert. I mean,
yes.
If we're actually going the 5 positions, then Rudy Gobert needs to be All-NBA first team.
Gobert got second team, which is great for him, but he's not one of the 10 best guys in the league. And then DeAndre Jordan got third team. DeAndre Jordan isn't even close to the top 15 in the league.
That's blasphemous.
And this is the thing. I don't understand why it's not just 3 forwards in that first team. So if you did that, it would be James Harden, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and probably Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
First team. Boom. Done. Let's go to second team. And instead, guys like Giannis get knocked out of the first team. And yeah, it doesn't make a huge deal financially, but for a guy's legacy, that's important. LeBron James has had 10 first-team All-NBA appearances in a row. I think that's true. It might not be, but I think it is. And that's really important for his legacy.
And there are some people that, because of the system is set up this way, it does have huge financial implications. Like Gordon Hayward didn't make any of these 3 teams, and now he
would have if this was just based on forwards.
I mean, he's better than DeAndre Jordan.
You would have knocked out DeAndre Jordan, and Gordon Hayward would have been there. That was such a huge.
Man, I would have knocked out Anthony Davis and put Gordon Hayward there.
Yes, and then you could have had Paul George and Gordon Hayward make it, and then both of those guys could get paid appropriately. But now they are costing themselves like $40 million because they won't get the Supermax for being in an All-NBA
player
team.
Extension, and that's really rough because at least Paul George, if he makes All-NBA next year, he can get it. But it's really bad for Gordon Hayward because this was a shot, and you know what? He put up the numbers to get there and had a great season and helped lead his team to the playoffs. I bet if you asked Rudy Gobert if he would trade his All-NBA second team and give it to Gordon Hayward to ensure he stayed with the Jazz, I think he would gladly give that up.
He would. Especially because Rudy Gobert would just be like, I'll just make it next year.
I mean, Rudy Gobert will just make it next year.
He's great. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased with how the All-NBA teams... So let's just ignore centers. We disagree with the centers.
Right.
Let's just look at the 2 guards and the 2 forwards. James Harden and Russell Westbrook.
Deserving.
We agree. LeBron and Kawhi. Deserving. Absolutely. That was they were in our first team All-NBA when we talked about it a few weeks ago. Team 2, Steph Curry and Isaiah Thomas. I agree with that.
I agree
You may want to put John Wall instead of Isaiah.
I'd put John Wall over Isaiah, but I think I understand it.
Just because it's a regular season thing, I think Isaiah earned second team. And then KD and Giannis. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I would have done. And then third team, you got John Wall. Agreed. DeMar DeRozan, borderline, but I think I agree.
He put up great numbers this year.
Kyle Lowry got hurt, and he took over. And he did a great job this season. Especially for being like a mid-range guy. A guy who would have dominated 15 years ago, and he's sort of out of date, supposedly. He had a great season.
He had a great season. He was a very, very great scorer this year.
And then the forwards. This is where I disagree. So the forwards are Jimmy Butler and Draymond. I think if I had to make a change here, I would get rid of Jimmy Butler and put in Gordon Hayward and leave Draymond. But it's close between those 3.
See, I differ with you. I would knock out Draymond and put in Gordon Hayward.
So Paul George I wouldn't put in. I think all 3 of those guys this season were better than Paul George. Because the playoffs kind of colored everyone's opinion of Paul George. Until like the last month of the year, Paul George played like crap. Because he was like...
He was refusing to play power forward.
And he was mad at the team. He wanted to be traded. And then the last month of the season...
Lance Stevenson came in.
And this is just speculation, but it was really like an advisor got in his ear and he was like, you might not make all NBA third team. And if you don't, you're out $40 million. And then Paul George was like, oh, crap. And then he lit up the last month. And because it's an entire regular season award, I agree with him not making it. It's close, but I think the other three guys are all ahead of him. It's tight between the other three, though.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't think there's a wrong choice.
Not really.
Maybe it's more like I really like Gordon Hayward and I wanted him to get his money and stay in Utah.
I think it's just he deserves the recognition. I mean, because with Jimmy Butler, there were times this year he disappeared. When they had like all the controversies, like him and D Wade versus the rest of the Bulls. I mean, that wasn't a good look.
Well, and it wasn't Jimmy Butler's best year. I mean, if you think back the last few years, we were talking about Jimmy Butler being in the top 10 guys in the league, and he's not there right now, or top 5 even. I mean, we were talking about who's better, Jimmy Butler or James Harden. And I remember us talking about this 2 years ago and saying, well, maybe it's Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so he had a down year. Draymond is Draymond's such a consistent player and such an integral part of the way that team works. Like, it's hard to base this off of numbers.
That's why I put Gordon Hayward in over him.
If you watch the Warriors play, Draymond is so important to that team. Because if Draymond's not right, that team's not right. And for that, I would knock Jimmy Butler out instead of Draymond, but it's hard to argue either way. I just think Gordon Hayward should be in. And now maybe the Celtics will be competitive because I think he's going to the Celtics.
We will see. I'm still thinking he may stay with the Jazz, but I mean, we'll never know until it actually happens.
Well, and one important thing to remember that I didn't think about and I don't think we've talked about is the Jazz didn't sign... Gordon Hayward's on a max deal right now.
Right.
The Jazz didn't offer him a max deal off the bat.
No, it was until they matched.
Yes, they waited for another team to say, yeah, we think you're worth a max, that the Jazz were like, oh crap, maybe he is worth a max. I guess we got to keep him. And that kind of stuff sticks with you, man. And he's obviously a loyal guy because when Brad Stevens offered him a scholarship first in high school to go to Butler, and then because his family, I don't know if you heard, like the Lebitard show was talking about this. Maybe it was Mike and Mike. I don't remember. His family are like lifelong Purdue fans. They have season tickets to Purdue. Oh, wow. They go to all the games. Even when he played for Butler, they still went to Purdue games. And Purdue came in after Butler and said, hey, we want you to come play. And he's such a loyal guy that he said, no, I'm sticking with my guy, Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
And that seems like the sort of thing that a guy like that, with the Jazz not offering him a max, would keep in the back of his mind saying, well, I could stay and make the same amount of money, or I could go make the same amount of money and play for my guy, Brad Stevens. That seems like the sort of thing that would be in the back of his mind. It would be mine anyway. Maybe I'm pushing my own.
I think you might be a little bit.
But the Purdue thing kind of shows you his mentality, though. Like, Brad Stevens came in before anyone else and said, come play for me, I believe in you. Then after he had a growth spurt, everyone else is like, oh crap, maybe he'll be good. Purdue comes in, says, why don't you come play for us instead? And he says, no. Butler was first. He believed in me. I'm going to go play for him.
See, that could also be, like, you could twist that and say that'd be a reason why he stays with the Jazz, because they're the ones who drafted him.
But,
went out on the whim. Because, I mean, they could have let him go, but they matched.
But, I mean...
Because that's how restricted free agency works.
The year before that, it's not like the Celtics had a pick to get him, did they?
Well, I mean, Brad Stevens wasn't even coaching the Celtics when he was drafted.
But the organization, because, like, the GM's the same.
Well, it's still Danny Ainge, yeah.
So it's like, organizationally, if they had passed up on him, maybe he would have held that.
Well, yeah, because it's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember what spot he was actually drafted in, but I mean, I know he wasn't the top pick in the draft.
No,
so, I mean, other teams passed on him, and the Jazz were like, okay, we'll see what you've got, and I think you're our guy.
True. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I personally hope he goes to the Celtics to make that conference a little more competitive, because I would love to see a team be able to compete with the Cavs, because right now there are none. Am I wrong?
In the East, no, not really.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Like, the Jazz are probably the fourth best team in the West, but if Gordon Hayward went to the East, all of a sudden there's a team that can compete with LeBron.
I mean, it's honestly depends on what he wants to do with his family, because I know he's very loyal, like, to his family, and like what his wife and kids want to do, whether they want to move or not, and which is one of the reasons why I don't think Miami's going after him, but I don't really think he's seriously considering Miami. But it's whether or not he wants to go to Boston, play for the Celtics, and then have to go up against LeBron all the time, or whether he wants to stick it out in the West and see what happens with the Warriors long term.
We'll see.
Because he's basically, he'll have a better shot potentially with the Celtics than he would with the Jazz, but it's like he's still running into a buzzsaw every year.
That's basically what the league is right now. Like,
it's just
it's too top heavy right now.
Do you want to make a little extra cash and stay where you are and try it and see what happens because you're on a really young team with a lot of cap space at the time, or do you want to?
But he's not going to make more cash.
Yeah, he is. Well, he still will because it's his home team. He'll get an extra year.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just not.
Bird.
He's not going to get.
He won't get more per year. He'll just get an extra year.
He'll get an extra year, and so overall, he'll get more money than he can from the Celtics. It's just.
We'll see. I mean, now a lot of the great players are saying, maybe I want the shorter deal because when I sign the next one, the cap will be higher, so the contract will be worth more money. That's what LeBron's doing right now, and KD.
Honestly, if he wanted to do that, that wouldn't be a bad move for him, and then try to get all NBA again next year.
Yeah, instead of, go for the 4-year deal instead of the 5. It's always been common knowledge that the 5-year deal is better because it's all guaranteed, but maybe not. Maybe not if you're young. Now a guy like CP3, yeah, you get that 5-year deal because you're 33 years old.
Because you're 33 years old.
It's going to be an Albert Pujols situation. You're going to be 40 years old making
same
30
city
mil a
too.
year.
Yeah, 30 mil a year when you're, walking on crutches on the sideline. Anyway, let's get to a kind of a serious topic here. Enes Kanter trapped in Romania.
Has anyone else heard about this story? Like, I saw the hashtag Free Enes. And I kind of heard a little bit about it, like his passport got revoked. This story is crazy.
That is what has happened with this story. I don't know if I've just had my head in the sand for a long time.
There's no way. Nobody's talked about it. We listen to a decent amount of sports radio, watch a decent amount of sports. I've not heard about this story at all.
The only thing you hear about on sports radio with Enes Kanter is, will the Thunder find a taker for Enes Kanter so they can free up some money? And it's all the whole thing of Billy Donovan mouthing on the sideline saying, we can't play Kanter.
This story completely made me change my perspective on Enes. Are you trying to buy time here as you look for it?
No, it's right here. I have it open. I was just letting you talk.
Dude, go for it.
Okay, so really what's happened, he's been very critical of the Turkish regime, and he's a native of Turkey. And it's gotten so bad, he says in a video that he has attacked people in Washington. This is a quote I'm reading from Kanter. He's attacked people in Washington. He's a bad, bad man. He is a dictator, and he's the Hitler of our century, is what he said against the Turkish regime. And it's gotten so bad to the point where this is a letter from his father. His father has disowned him and said this in Turkish media. With a feeling of shame, I apologize to our president and the Turkish people for having such a son.
Wow.
And you don't know if that's kind of fear, like a motivation out of fear, but Kanter has written, saying that today I lost my mother, father, brothers, and sisters, my family, and all my relatives. My own father asked me to change my surname. My mother, who has given me life, disowned me. My brothers and sisters, with which we have grown together, ignore me. And one of his brothers is playing college basketball, I believe, at Kentucky, where Enes played as well. But it seems like his whole family has turned their back on him.
It sounds like the family is like either trying to stay loyal to the Turkish government or they're afraid or something. And this is crazy.
Like, I mean, how this has gone basically unreported this entire time.
No idea. No show has picked up on this. The story's insane.
And it's like the Thunder, it says right here, the Thunder are going through the proper channels to resolve the situation. But right now he's detained in Romania. He was on a tour with his, the Enes Kanter Light Foundation, which was going to Romania and Indonesia. And he was at the Turkish embassy and apparently got his passport revoked and now he's trapped there. And
that is nuts. I hope he's all right. I hope his family's all right, but that's crazy. And I don't want to throw shade at the family because obviously living in America, we have a lot of privileges and
right.
Some places you can't just say what you want to say. And I understand they're probably trying to just keep themselves protected and safe and
because that can really
and all that because they're probably not making $70 million like Enes Kanter is.
Right.
But I could only imagine my dad telling me to change my last name. That is nuts. It's sad. I feel so bad for him.
And honestly, because Enes Kanter gets a lot of hate.
Oh,
so much hate.
Because he's a guy that he's everyone sees so much potential in him, but he doesn't play defense and he can't rebound. And he's such a great offensive player, but this is so much bigger than that. It's so crazy.
It's
insane.
We hope the best for him, and hopefully there's more, hopefully good news coming out about this, but it seems like a story that's very fresh that most people haven't heard about, which is kind of makes me look down on the media for not reporting any of that. It's like ESPN, really? There's so many slow sports days that this couldn't have been brought up.
This seems like something the Le Batard show would have run with.
Absolutely. So
they love the crazy, weird, insane, unexpected stories. How have we not heard all this? When did the letter and stuff come out? It didn't just come out because I know the free Enes stuff just happened today or last night.
Right, because he's been trapped.
But when did everything else come out with his family disowning him?
I'll click the link. This is from August 8th of 2016 is his letter.
August
8th of 2016, it's his letter talking about his family disowning him.
I hope that on Monday, now that this free Enes thing has happened, the shows will run with this and realize, oops, we missed it. Because this needs some media circulation. This needs attention. That's crazy.
He looks like he's doing okay. He's taking pictures with police in the airport because apparently he's trapped in the airport and can't leave. And he's been posting videos, but the sad thing is his 25th birthday today. So, I just clicked his Twitter account and the balloons were flying up to oh, hey, it's,
that's crazy.
Their birthday and he's just trapped there.
I'm not worried about, it's amazing what, having money and being part of a rich organization will do. I wasn't really worried about him being sent to prison in Turkey or something.
Right, because I was afraid he was just detained in the embassy, which, is
basically prison.
Yeah.
I was more concerned about his well-being with his family and all that. When you're rich, there's a lot of things you can, even though it's an authoritarian regime and they're mad at him and he's spoken out and he's a really popular Turk and all that, he could probably get away and get out of that. But it's the whole family disowning him, and
that's rough, dude.
Nuts.
Hopefully everything works out for Enes Kanter. At least he's at the airport. It looks like he's tolerable right now. He's getting some food or something. He can walk around and everything, so it's not like he's in prison, but still. Another serious topic I wanted to touch on towards the end of the show is Jameson Taillon, the starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, has officially been diagnosed with testicular cancer and had surgery to hopefully remedy the issue. But, this is at least the second or third young starting pitcher to succumb to testicular cancer this offseason and this season. It's just it's kind of crazy to think about because, I mean, he's like 24 years old, and then, it's him and then also Chad Bettis with the Colorado Rockies that both have like basically lost seasons due to testicular cancer.
Cancer sucks. It especially sucks when it's someone so young and you don't expect it. But yeah, cancer sucks. Everyone on this planet has had someone they know diagnosed with cancer. I think. Would you agree?
Oh, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's close friends or family. Sucks. And donate to cancer research. There we go. Good work. Let's go, team.
Wow, Bradley. But anyway, yeah, we hope the best for him in his recovery and send prayers his way and all that. But it's an interesting thing to hear about and think about. It's, you don't expect. I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of what happened with Eric Berry. Just playing the regular season. Just pitching away or playing safety for the Chiefs, and then all of a sudden, boom, hits you.
Yeah, never see it coming. And it's the sort of thing, like, it's a good thing they found it.
Right.
Because when you're young, you're not getting screenings and all that kind of stuff. Like,
I mean, it's not as common. I mean, I guess part of the reason is
you're not getting prostate exams, and you're not often in, because a lot of the times you'll be in the hospital and then they'll see it,
right?
Like on an X-ray or something. And when you're young, you're not doing that kind of stuff. You're healthy and that kind of stuff. If you don't notice it, it's there and it's growing and getting worse.
And honestly, I think a lot of things that's helped all those three guys, like Eric Berry, Chad Bettis, and Jamison Tyone, is that they are athletes
because you have to get
always,
physicals constantly.
Yeah, because you're always in the training room. Yes. They're always checking on something, and then it'll be somebody who you're with, basically every day. It's like a member of your family for the most part who's checking you for different stuff, and then we'll notice something different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And honestly, it could have saved their lives to this point.
Because, I mean, we're gonna get weird and graphic here. Testicular cancer. It's the sort of thing, if you or me or just a regular 20-something-year-old, you're not going to notice until there's a noticeable bump down there that didn't exist before.
Right.
And then you're like, oh crap. And then at that point, it's so big, it's worse. Like, we don't know how early they caught this, but it was probably earlier than you would just notice on your own.
Right.
It's not something I'm constantly checking.
Yeah, earlier than the normal 24-year-old. They teach you in, like health class when you're in school or something, to do the check. But I mean, it's not something you necessarily think about until, because most of the time you think, oh, I'm 22, 23, 24, I don't have to worry about that. And it's like you see a guy that's right around your age and then been diagnosed with it. And you're like, wow, maybe
crazy.
It's kind of eye-opening.
Crazy. All right, well, that was serious.
Well, that was serious. I get something funny.
Wait, we didn't talk about James Harden.
Do you want to talk about James Harden?
How long are we going?
We're over an hour right now.
All right,
like an hour and 3 minutes.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
James Harden, trash. Thank you.
I disagree with that assessment.
Look, James Harden, Game 6, closeout game of the round 2 of the playoffs. I don't know if the round has a name besides round 2. Against the Spurs.
Basically round 2.
Against the Spurs with no Kawhi. And you take 11 shots, make 2 of them, and score 10 points? What? You're James Harden, arguably the best pure scorer in the NBA. What are you doing scoring 10 points in a closeout game? I don't care if you miss every shot. You jack those shots up. Cause I don't understand. I don't understand. I just don't. It makes no sense to me.
James Harden is just one of those guys that just seems to lose it in the playoffs. I don't know what else it is, but part of it is that team, because that team is so reliant on the shots going in.
But he didn't even take them, is my point. Like, he's been bad in the playoffs before. Like 2 years ago against the Warriors, he was horrible, and now he's sort of known as like a choke artist in the playoffs. It's probably part nerves and like it's the stage and he can't step up. But usually he still shoots, he just misses.
Right.
This game, I think he was afraid of losing the game.
Honestly, I mean, after all of that has to be in your head, because think about it. After they went to the finals was when he got traded to Houston, when he didn't show up in the finals with Oklahoma City.
He was really bad in those. The Thunder should have won that series, but James Harden didn't show up.
And that's the thing. And basically all the blame went on him, and then they traded him for a guy that's not even in the league anymore, like a few years later. So, I mean, that has to be in his head. And, I mean, some of it, he kind of puts it on himself because he's in the spotlight a lot. So, when you're in the spotlight a lot, more is expected of you.
Great player. He's a top 10 guy. He's probably the best pure scorer in the league.
Well, that's true as well, but it's like the other stuff he says, like post-game, I guarantee more of that or something, after game one.
He scores 10 points in a closeout game.
See, if you talk the trash, you have to back it up.
But even if you don't, if Kawhi Leonard did that, Kawhi Leonard doesn't say anything and we'd be ripping him. Like,
well, yeah, absolutely.
You can't, you are James Harden is like, if Mike D'Antoni built a basketball player in a lab, it would be James Harden for his system. And James Harden just didn't show up. Like, what are you supposed to do? Yeah, all the other shooters weren't hitting shots either, and the blame partially falls on them because James Harden was distributing, but James Harden was driving, would have like a decent look at a layup and kick it out. What are you doing?
I don't know if he was trying to get more people involved. Maybe he was banged up with something. I don't know, but it didn't seem very James Harden.
He played his regular amount of minutes, so I don't want to hear banged up.
Well, I mean, there has to be some reason.
The other team didn't have Kawhi Leonard. Being banged up is not an excuse.
Well, I mean, Well, it's kind of like the whole thing we were talking with Isaiah Thomas. I mean, like, why? Like, I mean, he looks like he's scared out there.
At least Isaiah Thomas has no chance anyway. And Isaiah,
come on, man.
James Harden was going up against the Spurs team without Kawhi Leonard. There were no All-Stars on that team. You go dominate. And you take 10 shots, 11 shots, make 2 of them, and score 10 points. That's absurd. No, that's not okay. James Harden, trash.
James Harden, I love you. Come on the show. At the Rollout Show.
See, that's
at
the thing.
The Rollout Show.
I like James Harden too. He's my wife's favorite player. But even she was like, doesn't James Harden always suck in the playoffs? And I was like, yes.
Yeah, he does.
And she doesn't follow basketball that closely. She just likes the beard. And she likes his game and his swagger when he makes shots and the eat him up with out of a bowl of soup and stuff.
Yeah.
She likes all that. He's a great player, but closeout games he does not show up. He just doesn't. Never has. In big spotlight moments, he doesn't, and it sucks. I root for him. I hope one day he figures it out and wins something, but
we'll see.
It's bad.
It's bad. Watch him get named MVP.
He might.
He might.
I would vote for Russell Westbrook, but I know a lot of people voted for James Harden because they didn't feel right voting for a team that underperformed, which is if you basically that is based on the over-unders from the start of the season from Vegas.
Yeah.
Which isn't a great metric, but it's one way to do it.
It's one way.
Like the Thunder were expected to win 50 games this year, and they only won like 45. The Rockets were expected to win 40 games this year, and they almost won 60.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people voted for James Harden because his team overperformed. We'll see. He'll probably get second again, but
hey, happens.
Meh.
All right, you know what time it is?
Florida man. That's pretty good.
It sounded pretty good. I mean, you had to clear your throat real quick, cough.
Florida man.
Florida man.
All right. You already know the headline, but I'll read it anyway because
Okay.
I wanted to run this one by you. You haven't heard the story though.
Okay.
So I think you'll enjoy it. Florida man bitten by a rattlesnake. Okay.
Okay.
He was bitten by a rattlesnake. It is a dumb title. It's a dumb article title. The article's good. He was trying to kiss a rattlesnake. Okay.
Great delivery.
Look, I thought that here's what happened there. All right. Let's just pull back the curtain a little bit. We get these stories from the Reddit subthread or the Reddit subreddit Florida man, and the title of the article there was much better than the actual title of the article. So that's what happened there.
Okay.
Anyway, man was hospitalized Tuesday after a rattlesnake bit him on the tongue. Yes, that's the reaction I was looking for. That's the reaction I was looking for. Neighbors tell Action News Jacksonville that remove name was trying to kiss the rattlesnake when it bit him on the tongue Tuesday. You know what? We don't. He's expected to survive. Article over. I'm not going to read the rest because we got to the best part. He was trying to kiss a rattlesnake. Why did it bite him on the tongue? Why was he trying to French kiss a rattlesnake? Not
that's how you show affection, bro.
When I first saw the article, I thought he was just trying to give it a little peck. That'll be funny. Ha ha ha. Bro was trying to French kiss a rattlesnake.
Hey man, maybe it's the love of his life.
You really ruined this week's Florida man. I hope you know that. I thought it was a great article.
Because I went serious and then you have nothing for it?
Well, and the thing that the podcast won't pick up was your face when I said bit him on the tongue. Because you didn't say anything, but your facial reaction was great. And unfortunately, that doesn't translate to an audio format.
You know what? There's sometimes you just have to go with facial reactions because you don't have any words to say.
Dude, it was a great facial reaction, too. I wish we could somehow turn that reaction into sound and implant. It was like pure confusion and intrigue.
It was like
disgust.
The sound of, huh?
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was, huh?
Okay, Tim Allen.
Yeah, thank you. That's the only thing I can think of.
What? All right. I'm done.
You're done?
How we go over this week? We pretty
did.
Far.
Not as over as other weeks. But...
You know, the sad thing is, I just thought of another topic I want to talk about, but we'll do it next time. It's fine.
Okay, we'll have to actually write it down so we remember it.
Yeah, then. I'll forget.
Okay, well, we'll write it down today. Potentially.
No, I won't.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us for episode 13 of the Rollout Show, episode 13.
Yeah, sorry for missing last week's episode, but
it was Mother's Day.
We're back. Yeah, we had really busy weekends last weekend and couldn't quite find the time to squeeze it in, but we're back.
We're back.
Back to our weekly schedule. So thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you next week. We out.
Bye. Florida man.
Roll out, roll out. Roll, rolling down the hill out of the studio.